Awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to pass the presenter role. Wait a minute. So CO2. So you should have a pop-up that says accepts presenter role. Yep.
Let's see. Let me get logged in here.
Sounds good. People are going to be jumping in. Okay.
Can you see that okay?
Yep. Just going to put on my Insta. You guys are on Instagram, right?
Sort of. Yeah, at Studio Dental SF, I think.
Okay, awesome. Instagramming this thing. I guess let's get started. So what I'm going to do is, wow, this is awesome. That's exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this goodness here. So, Lowell, we're going to jump in. What I wanted to talk to you today is, from the beginning, once you guys started with Zen, and the cool thing was, I hope you remember the story, how it started. I'm literally sitting, I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday night. I'm checking my email between like the hockey games, and I see like on my email, you've been booked a demo by Lowell Studio Dental. I'm like, wait a minute, is that the Studio Dental that I've always was inspired by? Then I go out and check it out, and that was you. Funny. I was like, God damn it, I always wanted to see Studio Dental. And then it was you. You guys scheduled the demo. We went on, like, we did the whole thing. And then you guys liked the software from the beginning. And, you know, from the beginning, you had a very different approach. Like, people have storages, and we create templates for people, storages like disposables, infection control, crown and bridge, and things like that. And clearly, right now, by looking at the screen, we see that you have HQA1, HQA2, HQ front. So if you don't mind, let's take a full step back. Can you walk us through what was the reason you guys wanted to sign up with Zen, and then how like what attracted you? And I mean, since most of the people that will be listening are already users, I'm more trying to figure out like what was your approach behind it, not try to sell the new people.
Yeah. So I would say I started looking for something like Zen because we have a growing office. We have two offices. It was when we opened our second office, and the way we were kind of doing supplies was that we had one assistant who knew everything, and she would have to take 2 or 3 hours a week to kind of stop and do look at all the inventory and decide what we needed to order next. And it just felt like a really fragile system. No one else could help her because no one else knew what we needed. No one else knew where things were. And it felt like that was impossible for one person to do across several offices. I also like planned to be in business forever. So, so the whole system was dependent upon this one person. and that felt like something that just was very easy to break.
That's
so we were looking
awesome.
for something that was like a little more transparent, a little easier to just kind of like check in and teach anyone how to use. And when I envisioned what the perfect system would be, it was something like Zen. So I was excited that we found it. I think my screen is up. Is that,
Yep.
do you see
Yep.
my screen?
Yep. It's up. Yeah. You can walk us through.
Yeah, so we've got two offices. I've got a brick and mortar office, and I've got a mobile dental office as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we set up Zen is that every single shelf in our office has a label. So if you're in our lab, and if you start on the left-hand side of the lab and go around, the leftmost cabinet is cabinet A. The cabinet to the right of that is cabinet B. The cabinet to the right of that is cabinet C, and so on. And then each shelf within cabinet A has a number. So that shelf at the top is 1. The shelf below that is 2, and the shelf below that is 3. So you'll see in cabinet A, I have 3 shelves. In cabinet B, I have 3 shelves. And we just did the work of, actually you did the work, I think. Your team did the work of putting in all of our inventory. I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I think we just sent you our order list in the past, and you brought that all into Zen. And then we decided we just, marked where these things live. And one thing that we had to change or get more strict about was that we now, I think each office will have to determine what's the best way to use Zen and like what a number means on Zen. But what we decided to do was, for most things on here, we keep track of the number of unopened boxes that we have of anything. So it's not to say, we keep track of every single Isolite mouthpiece. We keep track of the unopened boxes of Isolite mouthpieces.
Okay.
And when you finish a box and open another box, then you go to the iPad in the lab and you say that there's one less box. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see. I think my Isolite mouthpieces are here. Yeah. So right now, of our our medium deep vessel ones, we have 6 unopened boxes. And the way we set this up now is that every other week, I have an operations manager who will go to Zen, press, create a cart, and it will automatically establish my cart based on what I have on hand versus the quantities that I want to have on hand. Each day throughout the day, the clinical team is marking down boxes when they open them, and then one person or anyone really, I guess, and that's kind of the idea behind how it was designed. Anyone can go to Zen, create a cart, and press send.
Lowell, can we talk about specifically the shelves and like the A1, A2, A3, and especially if you will get a chance to maybe like snap a picture and text it to me, so I'll include it in the article so that people can see it. This has been a big discussion so far in a couple of these webinars is how to match the physical space to the virtual space, right? So in the beginning, as you know, like especially you took it to the next level, we designed the virtual space and we're like, you guys will figure out the physical space. We don't care. But the more we grow, it's the bigger demand to connect the physical to the virtual. And so let's imagine, for example, you had the trays in one of the I think A1 or A2 before. If you don't mind, if we can go back there, the Invisalign trays. So, for example, if we know that, right there. So if we know, for example, that you have a dedicated B1 shelf and this lower tray, the trays go in there, right? So I assume it's one bag of certain numbers, or it's one individual tray.
This one's a little off. So with this particular item, we do these in like groups of 10.
Cool.
So,
awesome. Okay.
Yeah, these are unlike some of our other items. And I think that's one thing that you have to figure out across the different suppliers, across the different places that you order. Sometimes you can order, like you have to order these trays one at a time, but they come in bags.
I have to find something that's off, man. I'm sorry.
We should use one that's more normal, right? So
okay, let's do it. Gloves. Okay, cool. So we know that the gloves are leaving in
And
what?
these are tougher too because gloves come in cases.
Okay. But they're like in D1. So somebody goes in, they grab a box of
Yep.
gloves, like
Uh-huh.
hypothetically, right? If
Yep.
the officers could get the basics, they will create their own, like the more challenging case scenario. So
Yeah.
somebody goes in and grab a box of gloves. Obviously, it goes down from 14 to 12, 11, and so far and so on. Then I believe it's Colin, right? Who's the ops?
Yep.
So he
Yep.
will go in, restock inventory, process the order. He knows the quantity. He doesn't need to double check anything, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
You know,
awesome.
he is measuring what we need to order against our budget. So
Got it.
if it seems like, there's a lot of things that we are below our quantities, but in ordering all that we're above our budget, then there's some discretion there, and he can say, I'm going to hold off on ordering these 2x2s until next week.
Got it. Now, when the boxes arrive, how does it happen? Does the box from, let's just say, I don't know, Darby or TDSC gets brought in into that room and then it's sitting there? Who's verifying it and how it finds its own, way into D1, back into D1?
Good question. So all of our packages get delivered to the front desk,
Okay?
and they come with the packing order. Whoever's at the front desk, it'll be Colin or someone else on our operations team. We'll open that box, verify what's in the box, scan and add the invoice to Zen, which is something that I really like. And then once we verify that what's in the box is what we ordered, then either Colin will put that away or he can set it aside for one of the assistants to put away.
Got it. And then automatically the quantity is replenished.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. How do you guys train your team members? So, for example, you do have these odd cases like we found those trays, right? Let's just say somebody new comes in, because a lot of times people want to get Zen on board if they have that team turnover, right? How do you
Yep.
make sure that when somebody new comes in, they know exactly, like gloves come by the cases, trays, they come by the package of 10 that you've removed 10 and then you mark it in Zen. Is there something like a map that you have, the instruction, or how does it work for you guys?
We usually just do peer-to-peer coaching. So, when we have someone new, they're usually partnered with someone who is existing, and they'll kind of walk you through. Since other offices don't really have Zen, just this practice of taking something and going to the iPad is something that people have to learn.
Oh, yeah.
And so it takes some repetition, it takes some coaching, but it also just takes some learning, right? It takes running out of stuff to be like, oh, like this is something that's my responsibility that I have to do. And you pick it up pretty quickly. And I think, it becomes less work for everybody when everyone's kind of engaged and working within Zen. And so over time, even people who come from different offices, they pick it up really quickly because it's intuitive and just easier.
Do you think it's because, some offices will always complain, it takes so much time to train dental assistants and this and that. Do you think it's because you guys are hiring very well, which I'm sure you do, or it also has something to do that the system is pretty simple and not necessarily Zen, but like the way you set it up in your office with just like we see in the screen?
Yeah, I mean, it's some combination, right? Like we try and hire the best people and we try and make it as easy as possible for them to be successful. And I guess I'm really big on like standardizing things. Like I don't like one-offs. I don't like different pockets of information or knowledge in the organization. Like I like everybody to have access to the same information, everyone to follow the same processes, everyone to have the same expectations. And so Zen is just that, right? It's not like, this doctor sometimes orders supplies, but then this hygienist also has her own things, and this assistant, sometimes orders, but sometimes doesn't. It's like everyone has the same expectations, and I think that makes it a lot easier for the processes to not break.
Got it. What would you suggest for the offices that are really having a hard time to get everybody on the same page? Like, especially if it's an existing team, I don't know if they already use Zen or they're planning to bring Zen. Like, what would be your gut feeling? What would you suggest?
I'm curious, what are some of the issues that folks have in getting up to speed?
Getting the team compliance. Like, for example, I just had a call before this one where assistant is so on point. She's so good. Everything is organized. She's ready to go. And we spent 30 minutes just talking about how she's going to have a team meeting on Monday morning to roll Zen out and what's the best way to bring it up to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, some people, I mean, it happens, right? Like some people will say, well, I don't want to do this. It's going to take too much time. It's a new thing. I'm not good with technology. Why we're doing this? I don't understand this. I don't want to do this, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone can answer that question by asking how they would try and get a non-compliant patient to floss more often, right? It's like, what would you do? Like, do you say, like, let's start with something easier? Do you say, like, all right, if you're not going to do it, that's fine. You're not going to do it. Like, how do you convince someone to do something new, to develop a new behavior?
Wow.
In our office, we say, you should, like, start flossing while you're in the shower, or you should, maybe try to floss once a week. And that same process of, like, how do you change somebody's behavior? Just think about it outside of the context of Zen.
Can you say it again? I think it's a golden nugget. That's going to go in the title of this thing.
That's funny. Yeah, it's behavior change. Like, dentists, our teams talk about this all the time and struggle with this all the time. How do you get someone to change their behavior? And the same thing is how that you should answer that question in the same way that you would answer, like, how do you get a patient who doesn't want to floss to start flossing, or doesn't want to brush to start brushing? Every person's going to need something a little bit different. And, it's kind of it's our responsibility to figure out what that patient needs to hear in order to start doing what we want them to do.
Got it. Wow. That is so cool. So what's your take on incentives program when, like, some people say, you know what, I know that this is going to be a big change. We want to incentivize our team members, so now we're going to build an incentive package. So if they save an X amount of money, we're going to distribute that among the teams. What would you say?
I don't think that's particularly effective in our organization, only because, the expectation is that, everybody's doing it. And you're not, like, going above and beyond by checking things out of Zen, right? Like, what I want to reward is, like, you're identifying ways to make the system even better, or you're identifying new problems and fixing those. For us, Zen is, like, so basic, like, everybody's got to do it, that it's not something that we don't use, like, money to incentivize folks on that.
I have an idea, Lowell. I don't know how much it would cost, and you probably will hate me for this. I think we should move all of our trainings to Studio Dental, to do it in San Francisco, that people get a feel of how you guys do this, and then send them back to wherever they came from.
Yeah, after hours, I'm sure our team would love to stay and just walk you through our supplies list.
Are they listening? Do they hear what we're talking?
No, I'm at home today. I'm at home.
Got it. That's cool. All right. So a couple questions that I would like your absolute honest answer. I know that's the only one you got. Just wanted to make sure the listeners and whoever's going to be watching know that. Since you signed up with Zen, have you ever run out of product?
Yes.
How many times, if you, like, can count and give us an idea, like, roughly?
I would say in the past 6 months, 0 times.
Okay.
In the first 6 months, once a month.
Once a month. Okay. Again, I don't want to give Zen a ton of credit. What contributes that internally when you guys don't run out of products? How do you know, for example, if you do run out, you're like, boom, that's the issue?
Yeah, that's a good question. We spend a lot of time tinkering with the quantity on hand, with the required quantity.
Got it.
And so our solution to running out of stuff is holding inventory and getting smarter about what inventory we need to hold. So, yes, I know that people are human and that some people are going to forget to check out stuff, and it might be 2 or 3 weeks before that amount gets updated. I've got to hold enough inventory so that mistake doesn't mean that we don't have something.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to having, like, our individual items on shelves, We also have, and I'll show you this here. We also have an HQ upstairs. And this is where I keep like bulk boxes of things that we use all the time. So you saw that I had gloves downstairs in my my C3 or something. I also have gloves up here, and I keep extra cases of gloves. Right? I know I'm using gloves all the time, so I'm not going to run out of them, because even if someone forgets that they took them off the shelf, I've got more cases upstairs.
Got it.
And so it's just really like, I think about it in terms of like a process, and this inventory is buffer so that we can absorb any mistakes that folks make. And we haven't needed a product and not had it for 6 months.
So this is a tough one, Lowell. I mean, you and I both like in this management position, similar to where the doctors are. We like to find the solution and delegate it and be like, all right, that's you're in charge now. You go and take care of it. How do you find, I mean, strengths within yourself or discipline, probably the discipline to say once a month you got to go back, just like you said, tinkering with the required quantities, because it would have been so easy to be like, Colin, you go and take care of it. But how do you go back to this? Is it in your schedule? How do you, like, what's there?
I think within the structure of our team, our operations team meets for an hour every week. So we can if something was off, it's like, hey, we ran out of product again. Let's talk about it, and just built into our weekly routine, we have time to check in with each other. Okay. And that's when a lot of these things kind of get worked out. And then once a month, the operations team and the clinical teams meet together. And so if there are like lingering ongoing issues, we can use that time to figure it out. So the question is like, is it the schedule? Yeah. It's like we schedule this time, so that, and we know that in this time, we're going to work on things that are broken. And so we don't have to we don't have this worry about hurting anyone's feelings, or we don't have to squeeze it in between patients, or we don't have to have this conversation at the end of a long day. It's like every Wednesday, noon, we'll even like hold all the issues that we ran into that week for that meeting and just get them all taken care of at that one time.
Wow. Okay. Then the budget. Same question as running out of products. Have you ever been out of the budget since you signed up with us?
Yes. And it's usually when we want to switch a product or buy a new product. Okay. So if I need to replace my entire inventory, then I'll probably go over budget. Or if I want to, it's usually that. Like if I want to replace the cement that I use, or I've been over when I had to replace buy a bunch of new instruments. But the beauty is that I know that, right? And there have also been times where, it's the end of the month and I could place this order today and it would put me over, or I could place this order in 4 days and, I would stay under the budget, and it's useful to be able to see that. I think before Zen, we didn't really have an idea of where our spending was until our bill came.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I'm watching right now that it's May 31st and you still have $5,500 left in your budget, which is pretty cool. Like I'm doing a couple of the trainings in the yesterday, today, some people in the red, some people in the black, like most of the people in the black, which is awesome to see. Like, are you excited to see that you still have a little bit of money left? Is that like, you can say like, great job team, or that's expected from everybody?
I don't like to use money as a thing to like celebrate or, pat people on the back for. I don't know. Maybe that's just a personal thing. I think that you can like make numbers say whatever you want them to. Mm-hmm, and exactly. When I look at this budget here, I know that Colin's got to place an order today. So I don't know where that will end up by the end of the end of the month. And instead I like to reward on like peer feedback, like taking on new challenges, solving new problems. Those are the things that folks on our team get paid more for, not for like getting under a budget number.
Okay. Can we touch on that?
Yeah.
If you don't mind. I'm just really curious. like you talked about not incentivized for what people on the team's supposed to do, but do you have any incentives program?
Yeah, good question. So I always say I like to reward behaviors, not outcomes.
Okay.
So each person has like a personal development plan where like it's really a measure of like, do you demonstrate this behavior? Are you able to I mean, it's like for each role, there's like an exhaustive list of like 200 to 300 behaviors.
Wow.
That's like, are you able to deliver oral health instruction concisely and effectively? Are you able to discuss the costs and benefits of scaling and route planning and in a short amount of time, like within your hour-long appointment? And then the way we actually do bonuses on our team is that we have like a peer-to-peer feedback system.
Oh, wow.
And with our kind of company values and things, each people can like give someone like kudos basically for, going above and beyond, or for, improving a process, or for, making a patient's day. And each person on the team can like give those points to somebody else. And then at the end of the month, the people with the top 3 points get to choose from 3 different bonuses. One is like a massage during the workday, and the other 2 are just cash.
Mm-hmm.
So like each month, those are bonuses. Those, the winners of that get bonuses, and those are all decided by other people giving you feedback or giving you compliments on the work that you did, not on how much you produced or, how many no-shows or cancellations you had.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about like, how are you showing up for your teammates?
Mm-hmm. 2 questions. Are those feedbacks, are they anonymous? And the second question is, are you consistently seeing the same people in the top 3, or if it's changing?
Good question. The feedback is not anonymous. And the way it works, it's a system called Bonusly. I recommend it to everyone. But what you do is you bonus, BONUSLY, Bonusly.
Okay.
And we do a lot of our communication in our team via Slack.
Okay.
And so you can you give people bonuses in Slack. Every month, everybody on the team gets 200 stars, and they don't carry over to the next month, and you can't give them to yourself. So when you want to recognize someone, you can say, here's 25 points to Tiger. Like, you just led this really amazing webinar, and I just want to say good job. So that shows up in Slack, and then I can say like hashtag working on the road or something.
Yeah. Hashtag humble brag.
And you get over the course of a month, over the course of a quarter, over the course of a year, you can, it's a really useful track record to talk about, salary increases and talk about pay. But it's also, useful feedback for yourself on like, how am I doing? Like, how do my coworkers think I'm doing? And the people who are getting recognized, what are they doing to get recognized? Right. So if you aren't getting the points that you feel like you deserve, like, what does it look like to go above and beyond? And you can like look at the history and say, oh, okay, I could like set up someone's trades if, they're running behind, or I could, help this new person understand Zen supplies, for example. Mm-hmm. It's not the same people every month. And folks use it. It's cool. It's nice to be like, hey, I'm leaving to go. We have this Japanese spa that's down the street from our office. And so whoever gets the spa gets to schedule, gets to leave work 2 or 3 hours early and get that at the end of the day. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. I can imagine how they leave. They're like, all right,
have peace. And it's blocked out in the schedule too, so everybody else sees it. It's a really cool. I think it's a good thing for our team culture.
That's awesome. That's so cool. As a team leader, I know that it's you and the doctor both, right, running the team. It's probably you on the operations side, which I think is a lot more challenging than clinical. I might be biased, but it's just my personal opinion.
They're both very tough businesses to be in.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to stick with my subjective opinion. So, what I wanted to, and I mean the operation side, the dental assistants, and like the lab and all that stuff. To me, clinical is the providers, right? Like that's the clinical team. So, as the team leader, what's been your? I don't know how we shifted to this conversation, but I'm really excited to go on that. As the team leader, what helped you the most in getting the team to like follow your lead and getting them to where you want to get?
hmm It's a couple things. Um, and I would say it builds slowly over time.
Okay.
I think it starts with trust. Like people need to trust that you are, well intended, that you got people's back, that you're not, trying to, pull one over on anyone.
Take advantage.
But then I think you got to like set a pretty clear vision. Like over the course of leading this team, I've realized the importance of like, I think about this stuff every single day, and I know where I want Studio Dental to be 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And, I've got a view of the organization where I see how all the pieces move and come together. But everyone else doesn't think about that every single day. And I found that it's really useful to have a vision, articulate that vision, and make sure that other people see it and feel it and that it's real for them. So that's one. It's like you got to help people to see what you see at the high vision level. But then you got to make that relevant to people like in their day to day. And every person is different. Every person's motivated by something different. But it's like, how can you make the high level vision relevant to like my Monday? And that's kind of, I think, the work.
Got it. Building a team and having this certain culture in place. Do you feel like culture helps you to weed out the bad apples by itself? Like I'll just give an example. You guys have this really awesome culture, and then somebody comes in that doesn't quite a good fit, and it's almost like they feel uncomfortable by being the misfit in this awesome culture. Does it happen to you?
That's happened. Yep. And the beautiful thing is like it happens pretty quickly. And each time that does happen, I think it strengthens the culture. Like everything we do is culture, everything, like whether you think it is or not, it is. And when you have someone who is not a good fit, they may be awesome clinically. They may, patients may really love interacting with them, but they may just like, treat our assistants really poorly or, treat their colleagues really poorly. And in moments like that, you really define your culture. Are you a culture where that's fine, right? Are you a culture where it's like totally fine, like as long as you're good clinically, like you can say or do whatever you want? Or are you a culture where it's actually really meaningful and like important that you're kind, that like your coworkers like you, that you are someone that people want to be around? And I think like you form and strengthen your culture in moments where there's kind of friction or conflict.
One of the benefits I have is like, which is absolutely unbelievable, I'm grateful for, is visiting all the offices. I don't know the number, but I'm probably at like 295, 285,
Wow.
something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I can probably name all the offices that I've been to, that as soon as you come in and you feel that energy, right? It's one thing to talk about. Like everybody loves to talk, oh, we're the family, we're this and we're that. But it's like, feel that energy that, oh my God, like you come in and you feel that it's something special. So you guys were certainly one of them. Because I remember I couldn't get out of your office. Like,
it's a fun place to be. I think about this, like what makes our office good is like what makes our life outside of work good, and what makes an office bad is the same stuff, right? So like I think a lot of times you hear like we're a really nice team, or like we don't have any conflict, and I feel like what is really liberating on our team is that we talk about stuff. If something's frustrating me or something that you're doing is off, we talk about it. And there's no fear of, oh, there's always fear. You're a human. There's fear of conflict, but like we work stuff out. And I think when you go through that, those kind of things help to build trust. They help to build relationships. They help to build like problem solving skills. And so we're a team that like we talk it out. We work stuff out.
Quick question on that, because I think it's very important, and hopefully it will help a couple of our offices, because I know that they're in a startup stage and they can learn a lot from you. When you start that conversation, let's just say you're pissed at Colin, something happened. How do you, like, what are your first phrases are? Like, how does it sound like when you look at him and you're like, you guys at the meeting, how would you bring it up? And Colin, by the way, I just picked on him. He's an awesome dude. Like, I absolutely love working with him.
I try and make it about the behavior, not about Colin. Right? So it's this thing that you were doing or that happened is different from how we should do it. And then I think one thing that I think is really important as a leader when you talk about really tough things is the tone that you use. Okay. And I've been really aware of like, if you come to it with the tone of like, this is really pissing me off and this is something that you keep doing and this is something that's really urgent and this really matters, then that you pick that up. But I always try and make sure I'm as zen as possible, right? And I try and use the same tone that I would use if like the printer were broken, right? So it's like the printer is not printing, and we need to like go onto Amazon and find some new ink. As opposed to like, this fucking printer is not printing again, and you didn't order the ink, and we like this keeps happening, and we've got to fix this, right? Yeah. It's like that. You kind of set the tone in meetings like that. Oh yeah. And so before having any conversation like that, I have to make sure that I'm in a place where I can like slowly, normally talk about it. Yeah. Respectfully, yeah, exactly. And like it's not a big deal. It's just like this is something that you're doing that I want you to do differently. It's not that big of a deal. I need to tell you, and I think tone in those moments really matters. Got it. Okay, this has been tremendous. I think this is really awesome. I want to go back to Zen and specifically cover like a couple of the things there. You guys have the headquarters and the mobile. The mobile unit products are delivered to the headquarters, right? Yep. And then you guys just distribute them to the mobile. So if you can talk a little bit, again, I know that we're pressing on time. We got about 20 minutes left. If you could just cover how logistically that works, if you guys separate the boxes, if the orders are submitted separately, and then how do you keep the mobile units accountable that they actually also use the ZenOne and the orders are processed? Yeah, so the same people who work on the mobile office work at the brick and mortar office, right? So everybody knows Zen, everybody, uses Zen, and when Zen is not used, like everybody feels it, right? So, so the same accountability that you have when you're over at the brick and mortar office is the same, the same accountability you have at mobile. What we do is that when we restock inventory based on the location. And when we get a shipment in, the shipments all come together. The operations team will separate them. Like if it's the brick and mortar order, like those items just go onto the shelf. And if it's the mobile order, they go in a box in our back closet, and that order gets delivered once a week. Got it. And there's never been a confusion on that, right? Confusion. What do you mean? Like people accidentally put stuff into the brick and mortar instead of the mobile. No, the beauty is like when you get your shipment, like all your orders are here, right? So when I get something, I know like, was this ordered for the brick and mortar or was this ordered for the mobile? It's just like you just have to look at it. Got it. Probably last question, which is going to be fun. What do you think? Let me ask you a tough one. What's the most annoying thing about Zen so far? That's a good question. Mm, annoying thing about Zen. Not annoyed with it. I think one thing um, that would be useful, beneficial, is
Okay.
that sometimes Colin will place an order, and one day later, someone will ask for that product. And I think the beauty of Zen is that you can get things a lot closer to when you need them. And I think that like reduces the amount of inventory. But because no one else knows what I ordered, when I ordered it, what was in that order, they don't know what's coming. And, I can't think of like an elegant way to show that, but one thing we're thinking through now is how does Colin let everyone know that he placed this order and that it'll be here in 4 days, right? So before you ask, like, are we out of this? You can know, like, it's been ordered and it's on its way. That's one thing.
Okay.
Um, does that make sense?
Yep.
And I don't know where to, maybe it's like, maybe it lives in the Zen app where it's like, we have 0 on hand, but, 2 will order it and on their way. But it seems like that is something that happens where it just seems like a little bit of wasted energy where I can't figure out a way to let everybody know that the thing has been ordered, and so they will ask me or ask Colin where it is.
Got it.
um, that's our most recent thing.
Have you guys ever been frustrated with something being on a back order and not knowing
No,
about this ahead of time?
it's not your fault. That's not your fault. One thing I like, I mean, this chat feature is great. Like, I think you guys have taken the process of the work of like tracking returns and all that stuff. You guys do that really well. Stuff being back ordered, stuff gets back ordered. It's just part of it. It's just part of it. And so I think the way to solve that is making sure you have the right amount of inventory, the right amount of backup, making sure that your required quantity is right.
Got it. Got it. Any departing notes to our maybe startups, maybe people that are just getting on Zen? What would be your advice from someone who's been with us? I mean, I don't know. You've been one of the first ones, and I'm so grateful to have you guys. Like, what would you tell to the new people?
Yeah, I would love to talk to some new people about what problems are happening. It seemed like such a seamless transition for us. And I think that was because we knew that our team was going to be growing. Like we knew that it could be easier. So it's hard to think about like, oh, this is the one thing we did to like get over this thing that was really hard. Because it didn't seem like it was that tough. I think, I always, when I'm thinking about how to do something hard, I try to think of an analogy. So whether, like I said earlier, like how would you convince someone to start flossing? I think it just it takes it out of the context of something that's really hard and frustrating and seems like a big task to like, oh, I know how to do this, you know? And so I would say relate this to something else that you know how to do. And then do it that way.
Got it. Last question, I promise. What is the last book, maybe business book that you read that you would absolutely recommend?
Oh man, so many. Uh, uh, I am trying to train some new leaders in my organization, and I think a really good book that I recently read for that is How to Be the Boss You Want to Work For.
How to Be the Boss.
I personally benefited a lot from reading and listening to a lot of Brene Brown's work around leadership and courage and having tough conversations. I feel like that's been an area of learning and growth that I've had. And then I would say, like, I haven't read this recently, but the most impactful business book that I've ever read is called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. And I think this is useful for any business owner. It is a really useful framework for thinking about your company. I think you know, you don't take everything in there verbatim and, you know, by its word, but I think just generally as a context for thinking about all the different parts of your business, I found that was a really useful resource.
Got it. Wow, this is fantastic. Lowell, if anybody wants to reach out to you and be like, just like you mentioned, I'd love to talk to some new people. If one person in the next year would like to take you up on that, what would be the best way?
Shoot me an email. My email address is my first name at studiodental.com. And that goes directly to me, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Man, I really appreciate what you do, all the feedback.
Thank you. This has been really fun. I'm glad I was able to do this today.
Yeah, you guys really took Zen to the next level, and I really admire what you guys accomplished on the outside, like the mobile studio, that whole mobile unit. I've always talked about it.
Zen took us to the next level.
Oh, come on.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Come on. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. All right.
I want to see you again. Let us know next time you're in town.
I will. I will. It's definitely going to happen this year, so I'll hit you up and we'll go for dinner.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Tiger.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Mm-hmm.